Inner light always begins as a whisper, a quiet ember, almost shy, that flickers to life inside us before we can even understand its meaning. But as the days pass, that light seems to be wrapped in a thin mist, a layer of shadows so subtle we rarely notice when they settle in. It's as if we're walking with a flame in our hands, while invisible winds insist on blowing against it. With every step, every gesture, we feel something quietly dimming, even when we believe we're doing everything right spiritually. There's a kind of dramatic silence at the bottom of the soul, a gap between what we show the world and what truly burns inside us. And it's in that invisible space that the question capable of changing everything is born. What if the biggest spiritual mistake you're making is exactly what you believe you're doing right? There's something deeply unsettling about that possibility, because at some point in life, all of us try to strengthen our inner light by seeking paths, practices, words, and intentions we believe are noble, elevated, spiritual. And yet, most of these movements, no matter how sincere, can end up covering the spark that matters most, the spark of truth. It's strange to think that the effort to shine can slowly extinguish the shine itself. But Jesus warned us about this when he said that the eyes are the lamp of the body, showing that illumination doesn't begin with what we do or with what we display, but with what we're able to see within. True light is born from what we silently welcome, not from what we show off. Picture a dark room where only a thin beam of light slips through a half-opened window. You walk toward it, trying to widen that light by pushing the window open, unaware that your own fingers, in trying to help, end up blocking part of the beam. This is the spiritual path of many. In trying to amplify the light, they unintentionally dim it. And here is the loop that will stay with you until the end of this video. There is a deep, common, quiet spiritual error draining your light without your awareness, an error that doesn't come from your weakness, but from what you believe is your strength. And today, together, we will expose it. Maybe deep inside, you sense that something in your spiritual life doesn't fit, a fatigue you can't explain, a feeling of stagnation even while trying to do good. Maybe you've noticed that despite seeking clarity, your inner light feels heavier, dimmer, as if something is covering its natural glow. And maybe, just maybe, that discomfort is your soul's invitation to finally see what you've always avoided looking at, not out of fear, but because you thought you were already on the right path. Jesus also said that no one lights a lamp only to hide it under a basket, but to place it on a stand where it can illuminate everyone in the house. But before light illuminates the world, it must illuminate its own home, its own interior, its own truth. That's why this video is a deep calling, almost a divine whisper, asking you to pause for a moment and look at the origin of your light, and at what, without realizing it, has been dimming it. And here is the promise that will guide the rest of your journey in this video. I'm going to reveal the spiritual mistake that makes thousands of people lose their light even while believing they're strengthening it. A mistake so common, it hides even within the most loving, devoted, well-intentioned hearts. A mistake that, once understood, transforms everything around it. Get ready, because what's coming is not a simple answer. It's a revelation. And it may explain much of what you've been feeling lately. Your light is not weak. It's simply waiting to be truly seen. Spiritual light is not an object, not a supernatural phenomenon, not a mysterious force reserved for a few. It is, above all, a state of consciousness, a presence that awakens within us when we stop hiding from who we truly are. Spiritual light is the glow of inner truth, the reflection of silent integrity, the echo of pure intention that rises from the chest when we choose to live with deep honesty. It doesn't depend on elaborate rituals, poetic words, or spiritual performances. Light is what remains when we remove every mask. It's the clarity that emerges when we stop fighting to look good and begin living the truth of being human. Jesus understood this light with a depth that crosses centuries. He said, "No one lights a lamp to hide it under a basket, but to place it high where it can illuminate everyone in the room." What he revealed wasn't just external behavior, but an inner principle. Spiritual light doesn't exist to be displayed, but to be lived. A hidden lamp doesn't stop being a lamp. It only stops fulfilling its purpose. And the same happens to us when we hide our truth out of fear, insecurity, a need for approval, or even because we believe spirituality must always look beautiful. Light was never about aesthetics. It has always been about essence. To truly understand this light, we need to look beyond poetic images and grasp its practical nature. Spiritual light is awakened consciousness. It's recognizing when we're aligned with goodness and when the ego is steering us. It's knowing when an intention is born from truth and when it's born from fear. It's the ability to see ourselves without filters, without excuses, without illusions, not with harshness, but with deep compassion. This light doesn't ignite to impress others. It ignites to reveal truth to the heart. Many ancient traditions spoke of this light as a symbol of clarity. The Stoics called it right reason. Some Eastern masters saw it as inner stillness. Philosophers described it as the soul's lucidity. All pointed in the same direction. Light is consciousness, not intellectual understanding, but a living, pulsing awareness that guides us from the inside out. And the more this light grows, the less a person needs to prove who they are. They simply are. But there's something few perceive. There is a big difference between genuine spiritual light and performative light. Authentic light is quiet, natural, effortless. It doesn't seek applause, doesn't try to convince anyone, doesn't need validation. Performative light, on the other hand, is born from the desire to seem enlightened. It's the urge to display goodness to gain acceptance, to demonstrate wisdom to earn respect, to show purity to be admired. Performative light is fragile because it doesn't come from truth, it comes from need. It shines brightly for a moment, but fades quickly because it has no roots. To illustrate this difference, imagine someone named Elise. She grew up being told she should always be the calmest, kindest, most understanding, most spiritual person in the room. She tried to smile even when exhausted. She tried to advise everyone even when she felt lost. She tried to be light, to please, to fit in, to be recognized as good. Over time, she realized she was constantly tired, irritable, disconnected. Her light seemed to dim a little more each day, and no matter how many candles she lit for others, her flame flickered. Only when she finally admitted to herself that she was trying to be light in order to be loved, and not because her light truly wanted to shine, did things begin to shift. This microstory brings us to a profound question. How many times have we tried to be light for reasons we never admit, even to ourselves? How many times have we tried to be strong to avoid disappointing someone? How many times have we smiled to avoid judgment? How many times have we cared, advised, carried, helped, not because our light was overflowing, but because our fear was begging to be avoided? True spiritual light isn't born from obligation. It's born from authenticity. And that's why so many people, even while trying to do everything right, end up losing their light without noticing. Not because they're weak, not because they lack faith, not because they're spiritually inattentive, but because they haven't yet understood what truly extinguishes the flame, and we're getting close to it now. There is an invisible, almost uncomfortable reason why so many feel spiritually drained, confused or disconnected while trying their best to be light. The revelation is uncomfortable but profoundly liberating. And once you understand it, everything will make sense. Your fatigue, your frustrated attempts, your setbacks, your constant search for clarity. Spiritual light doesn't vanish all at once. It fades slowly. And the reason for that is about to be revealed. The revelation you're about to hear may be the most important of your spiritual journey so far, because it touches precisely the place where most people get lost, not out of malice, not out of ignorance, but out of believing they're doing the right thing. This is the paradox that confuses even the sincerest hearts. Good people make this mistake. Dedicated people make this mistake. Spiritual, sensitive, empathetic, generous people, almost all of them make this mistake. And the kinder they are, the deeper they fall into it. The greatest spiritual mistake of our generation is trying to illuminate others before illuminating ourselves. It's simple, painful, and devastating. We live in a time when everyone wants to be a beacon, a guide, an inspiration, a reference. People want to advise, teach, mentor, save, change, transform. There's an almost anxious rush to offer light, yet very little willingness to care for the flame itself. It's as if there's a silent belief that spirituality only counts when it's expressed outward, as if the inner light is worthless unless it shines on the world. But that's not light. That's exhaustion dressed as virtue. Imagine a candle trying to light an entire room when it's already burning near the end. Yes, it glows, but its wax melts quickly, its wick bends, its flame trembles. It tries to do more than it can, tries to be more than it is. And while the room looks bright, the candle consumes itself. This is how thousands live today, shining outward while burning out inside. Jesus showed us something profoundly different. Even though he healed multitudes, taught crowds, touched lives, he always withdrew to pray, to be alone, to renew his own light before offering it again. He never placed the mission above his connection with the Father, never placed the world above his essence. Jesus knew there is no true light if the source is depleted. Scripture describes countless moments when he stepped away, sought silence, climbed the mountain, rested, prayed in solitude. It wasn't escape, it was wisdom. Meanwhile, many of us do the opposite. We put the mission before the heart, put others before ourselves, put obligation before truth. We believe that if we don't shine for others, we're spiritually failing. So we keep trying, until one day we realize we feel nothing at all. The light that once was vibrant becomes weak, almost imperceptible, not because we are bad, but because we forgot to care for the spark. There is something called spiritual ego, one of the most deceptive aspects of inner life. It doesn't show up as arrogance. Often, it appears as the desire to be helpful, to be good enough, to be needed. It's the ego that whispers, you must save everyone, you must always be available, you must be light all the time. And while you try to meet those expectations, your soul whispers for rest, and you ignore it. Your inner truth asks for silence, and you keep speaking. Your light asks for care, and you try to illuminate someone else before looking in the mirror. Spiritual ego convinces you that caring for others is nobler than caring for yourself. But the truth is, trying to illuminate the world while your own light is fading leads to burnout, not evolution. True light isn't born from obligation, it's born from overflow, not from pressure, but from fullness, not from need, but from truth. And here is the deepest part of this revelation. Many who try to save their family, friends, partners, co-workers, do it not out of love, but out of feeling responsible for other people's emotional path. They carry guilt that isn't theirs, sacrifices no one asked for, expectations no one can maintain. They believe that if they don't illuminate everyone else's path, something terrible will happen. Other people's suffering becomes a personal burden. Their pain becomes a mirror of their own insecurity. And little by little, they stop living their own life to become everyone's emotional backbone. But the question that changes everything is this: how can you illuminate someone else's path if your own vision is clouded? How can you heal someone if your own soul is wounded? How can you guide if your inner compass has lost its magnetic pull? How can you warm someone else if your flame can barely warm you? This is the silent wound of our generation. We try to become masters before becoming students of ourselves. We try to be light for the world before being light for our own inner home. And the consequence is devastating. A lifetime spent trying to save everyone while your soul cries for rescue. When you try to illuminate others before illuminating yourself, you create an invisible energetic debt, a spiritual bill that sooner or later must be paid. Because there is a price for offering what you don't have. The price is your own light. And when that light weakens, everything around becomes heavier, harder, more confusing. But here's the most important part of this revelation. If this mistake is present in your life, it does not mean you have failed. It only means your light is asking to come back home. And recognizing that is the beginning of transformation. In the next step, you'll clearly see the signs, consequences, and invisible impacts of this mistake, and why it has been draining your energy without your awareness. The cost of this silent mistake has already begun. But there is still time to rekindle your flame. Inner light doesn't extinguish all at once. It wears down quietly, like a thread of gold thinning until it nearly disappears. And in that invisible wear, the deepest consequences of this spiritual mistake hide. When someone tries to illuminate the world without tending their own flame, they begin carrying a weight that isn't theirs, a burden never meant to be borne alone. The soul starts overworking, while the heart tries to remember who you were, before losing yourself, trying to be everything for everyone. The first consequence is exhaustion that doesn't go away, a fatigue that's not physical, but existential. You wake up tired, go to bed tired, live tired. No matter how much you rest, the body may pause, but the mind doesn't. There's a deep drain caused by trying to be constant light when your heart needs stillness, quiet, pause. And this exhaustion is deceptive because many mistake it for stress, heavy responsibilities, a busy routine. But no, it's the soul begging for care while you insist on shining outward when you should be looking inward. Then comes loss of direction. The inner compass begins spinning without pointing anywhere. What once felt clear, purpose, mission, values, dreams, becomes foggy like dawn mist. You feel like you're moving but don't know where. You act but don't feel. You do but don't live. Have you felt this? Moments when what once lit you now feels distant, almost unreachable. This confusion is not a lack of faith, it's a lack of inner light. You cannot see the path when the flame meant to illuminate it is too faint to reveal the next turn. Another invisible consequence is spiritual resentment. Few admit it, but it exists. It appears when you start feeling, even unintentionally, that spirituality is demanding too much. A quiet irritation grows, a sense that doing good is bringing more weight than peace. You don't understand why you're so drained if your intentions are loving. And without realizing it, you begin blaming yourself. You think you're not good enough, evolved enough, strong enough. But none of that is true. The problem is not the light, it's the direction in which you've been offering it. Spirituality has never asked for sacrifices that cost the soul itself. There's also a loss of identity. When you spend too much time lighting other people's paths, you risk forgetting who you are. Your own needs fade, replaced by the needs of others. Your own desires are tucked away into a drawer that's never opened. Your boundaries dissolve like sand in the wind. Eventually, you look in the mirror and barely recognize who's there. It's as if the light you projected outward erased the outline of your own existence. Relationships are affected too, not only romantic ones, but all of them. Family, friendships, co-workers. When someone gives more light than they have, they unconsciously create emotional dependency. People start expecting you to always be available, always strong, always wise, always on. And the more you correspond to that expectation, the more trapped you become in it. You become a lighthouse no one realizes must also be repaired. And when you finally try to rest, people grow confused, upset, surprised, because you've taught the world to believe your light was infinite. But every light needs fuel. There's also a deep spiritual impact, reflected in Jesus' words. A house divided against itself cannot stand. This means that when your soul is trying to withdraw and you insist on giving, you become divided inside. And where there is division, there is no strength. Spiritual light cannot grow when one part of you wants to serve the world while the other wants nothing but to breathe. Lack of internal coherence fragments your energy, weakens your faith, blurs your clarity, and slowly, what should have been a source of peace becomes a source of conflict. What's most remarkable is that all of this happens while you believe you're spiritually failing. But the truth is the exact opposite. You're not failing. You're forgetting yourself. And forgetting yourself is the only mistake capable of dimming a light that was born to shine. But there is a way back, a simple, profound, almost sacred return, a path that rekindles the flame without effort, without guilt, without pressure, a path so accessible you may have already felt its call in recent days. And it's this path we reveal now, the return to your center, your heart, your light. Returning to the light doesn't happen with noise, grand gestures, or sudden transformation. It begins with an almost imperceptible movement, like when a flame flickers and seems to disappear, only to rise again, stronger and steadier. Spiritual restoration is always quiet. It doesn't come from rushing, but from pausing, not from obligation, but from reconnection. And the first step is turning inward, even when the world tries to pull you outward. There's a profound difference between introspection and isolation. Introspection is the dive that heals. Isolation is the escape that traps. When Jesus said, "Go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father in secret," he wasn't teaching a ritual. He was revealing an eternal principle. The room isn't a physical space, but a spiritual territory where no one else enters, where no outside expectation can interfere, where no pressure from the world can reach. It's the place where light restores itself, where truth speaks again, where the soul finally breathes. Turning inward doesn't mean withdrawing from others. It means finding yourself before offering anything. It means remembering you are not what you give, not what you lack, not what the world wants you to be. You are the flame, the spark, the source. And each moment you return inward, even for a few minutes, your flame grows a little stronger, illuminating corners of your soul forgotten for years. The return to light begins when you allow yourself to feel again, when you admit you're tired, when you accept that you need care, when you recognize that to shine again, you must first reclaim your center. There is no weakness in this. There is wisdom. Here is where your heart rests, where your soul releases weight, where your light breathes freely again. The beautiful truth is that spiritual light never fully goes out. It doesn't disappear. It hides beneath layers of effort, expectation, obligation, and fear. And every one of those layers can be removed, not by force, but with honesty and gentleness. Every layer you shed is like opening a window in a dark house. Slowly, the light you thought you'd lost reveals that it never left. It was simply waiting to be seen. This journey doesn't require strength or sacrifice, only authenticity. Only the willingness to pause and tell yourself, "I need to return to me." In that moment, something within you begins to rearrange. Peace finds room again, clarity reemerges, and the flame, once dim, rises with an ancient courage, as if it always knew you'd come back for it. Now that you've found the doorway to this quiet return, the next step is learning how to restore your light in a practical, deep, transformative way. Restoring spiritual light is not a technical process or a rigid checklist. It's a dance between awareness and care, between truth and gentleness, between courage and rest. Restoration happens when you intentionally create space within yourself for light to grow naturally. And growth begins by observing your own shadow without fear, not to judge it, but to understand it. The shadow isn't the enemy, it's part of your story. When you look at it with honesty, something lights up immediately. Light doesn't repress, it transforms. Acknowledging where it hurts, where it's lacking, where it feels heavy, is the spark that ignites a new flame. Restoration also requires boundaries. Boundaries are walls of love, not barriers of selfishness. Saying no doesn't push people away. It protects the flame you need to keep alive. Many people give so much that they forget every light needs fuel. And the soul's fuel is the sacred space where you can be whole without being demanded. Every boundary you set is like cupping your hands around a fragile candle to shield it from the wind. It's an act of care for your own existence, a quiet reminder that your light matters immensely. Restoration also unfolds in silence. Not empty silence, but fertile silence, the kind where the soul hears what was drowned out by the world's noise. Jesus withdrew to quiet places, not for isolation, but for renewal. He knew that without silence there is no clarity, and without clarity the light cannot stand. Prayer, meditation, or simply being present with yourself opens a doorway into an inner space where everything aligns again. Silence restores what words have worn out. Another essential step is practicing small, daily acts of truth, not grand gestures, but coherence, saying what your heart truly feels, acting according to what you believe, respecting your own needs, refusing to betray your inner limits just to please the world. Every time you choose truth over appearance, the light grows a little stronger. Spirituality doesn't flourish in speeches, but in quiet choices repeated over time. And then comes the most transformative step of all, sharing the light only after you're lit. This doesn't mean being perfect before helping others. It means recognizing that care for others grows out of care for yourself. When your light is renewed, your presence becomes healing without effort, inspiring without strain, guiding without exhaustion. People illuminated by their own renewal don't try to shine. They simply radiate. And that radiance is the purest form of spirituality. Restoration is not a destination, it's a practice, a breathing rhythm of the soul, a daily reminder that you also deserve what you give. And the more you allow yourself to live this restoration, the more you realize your light was never small, it simply needed space to shine again. The journey that began with the question, "What is the biggest mistake you're making with your spiritual light?" has now reached a place of clarity. And perhaps you've realized the answer was never hidden from the world, but from yourself. The greatest mistake was not helping too much, loving too much, giving too much. The mistake was abandoning yourself while doing it. It was believing that spiritual light meant carrying everyone, illuminating everyone, saving everyone, while your own flame asked for silence, space, and care. Light does not grow when you abandon yourself. It grows when you return to yourself. Through this journey, you see that true spirituality is not about perfection or appearance. It's not about seeming enlightened, but about being honest with yourself. It's not about how many people you can help, but about how much of your essence you can keep alive. Spiritual light grows when you align with your inner truth, when you stop seeking external validation, when you release the need to be seen as good or elevated. Light flourishes when you choose to be whole, even if no one sees it, even if no one understands, even if no one applauds. Jesus said, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." Those words hold a profound secret. Inner light is not fragile. It only weakens when you stop tending to it. But when you care for it, honor it, protect it, it becomes unbreakable. Nothing can extinguish light born from truth. Nothing can overpower a flame renewed in God's presence, in the courage to look within, in the serenity of walking through your own heart. And now I leave you with a question that can transform your life, if you truly allow yourself to answer it with honesty. What part of your light have you stopped tending to in recent years? Maybe it was the rest you kept postponing. Maybe the truth you silenced. Maybe the boundary you ignored. Maybe the dream you hid. Maybe the self-love you kept at the bottom of the list. This question is not meant to blame you. It's meant to free you. Because when you identify where your light was forgotten, you find the key to restoring it, and everything shifts, the road aligns, the heart softens, the mind clears, the soul breathes, and you realize you were never lost, only distant from yourself. This video doesn't end here, it's the beginning, an invitation to keep walking toward the light you've always had, but perhaps let slip behind the demands of the world. If this message touched your heart, share in the comments. What part of your light do you want to care for starting today? I'll be here, reading, listening, walking beside you. And if you want to go deeper in your journey, know that this space will always be open. Here, light is not a duty, it's a return. And I will continue with you, illuminating the path not because I have all the answers, but because I truly believe your light deserves to shine.